candidate. And I have an understanding of the system like nobody else in this race right now.
Well, that's all wonderful. By way of background, one of the areas that I always hear about, and it sounds so, conspiracy theory, electronic voting. And everyone's raising the specter of what's going on behind the scenes in the software. How do I know my vote has been accurately collected? You read articles from other jurisdictions and other townships in other states, and you find out that, wow, isn't that strange? 1 minute there's 1,000 votes, and then 5 minutes later there's actually 1,500 votes. How did that happen? Where did this late night dump come from? Has my vote been accurately recorded by the software? Who made the software? Who is looking into that? These are all questions that I hear all the time, and yet I don't know anything about what's going on behind the scenes. I have no personal understanding of how the software is developed, who's controlling it, and if anything could be modified or changed.
And what I could say to that is, for the last 20 years, when we have computerized this entire infrastructure of elections, what we failed to do is upfront create independent security assessment review for those various systems. So there's not really a third party involved. The vendor really drives the entire process. The Secretary of State validates it, but that's kind of a self-auditing function. And so when we look at it, how much is this costing us? And what's happened in Ohio in particular in just the last 6 years, we went from having an $18 million budget in the Secretary of State's office to a $65 million budget.
Oh.
And that budget has been growing because we're having to add these cybersecurity costs, which now are no longer being funded by the federal government. So now our county commissioners are bearing that cost. And so this whole system's being relooked at. And when you look at this administration, Brian, President Trump has called for decertifying some of these systems because rightfully so, the technologies from the early 2000s. In the early 2000s, there was not even iPhones. So you don't even have the ability to meet the degree of what we would call zero-day threats that are present. And I'll be honest, all of these systems are designed to components, the software developers, the suppliers from overseas. So why can't we get a supply chain in the United States? If this is truly critical infrastructure, if we're truly going to protect that and give people assuredness and confidence, which they deserve, that's why I'm advocating to go back from a marking device to pre-printed hand-markable paper ballots. They are unhackable. They're the most transparent. They cost about a tenth. And Ohio's already doing it in some counties. I think we need to be a leading state and go back to that.